Thank you guys. Thank you all for being here tonight. This is gonna be this will be awesome. Thank you all in person, and then if you're on Zoom, we love the Zoomers as well. So if you, a lot of the people here that are in person know who I am, but we do have some new faces. So I'll intro myself. My name is Parker Vassaw, and I am the VP of Sales at Point Marketing. Point is a door-to-door sales pest control marketing company. And we hire reps to go places throughout the country and sell in the summer and make money. So we are in the business of helping reps make a lot of money in the summer, but we also are very interested in helping people develop. And that's something we're super passionate about. So we do these personal development trainings once every week or two. And we've had some really awesome ones over the last couple weeks and months, and we've recorded those. And this night will be recorded as well. So you can go back and watch those. Jackson plays a big role in helping us record those and doing video stuff for us. But tonight's will be special for me in a really big way. I served my mission 10 years ago. I've been home for 10 years, so I'm old. I'm the old guy. But Mike Wilstead, who I have never ever called Mike, but I'm gonna call him Mike tonight, was my mission president. So I get to introduce him tonight, and I'm gonna take a minute or two and do that, and then he's gonna take over. So I'm gonna share kind of some on paper stuff about President Wilstead, and then I'm gonna share. I have two stories that are really quick stories that I want to share just real quick to kind of help introduce him. So the on paper stuff, Mike is a operating partner at Cimarron Capital. They're a private equity group. Diggy, who's in the back, I had a meeting with him the other week, and he was wearing a Cimarron Capital shirt, and I was like, hey, my mission president's like one of their partners. So I think he got it at the BYU fair or something like that. Yeah, so
what are you doing here then? You should be on.
Hey, don't take that. That's not what you're here for. So he's a partner there. He was obviously our mission president. I do want to welcome some of the Maddox is here today. He's a guest, and so I have some buds here from my mission that I invited. So everyone's here that's not here with our group is super welcome. We're stoked to have you. So. But he was also a general authority since being home, and was over southern Utah, and then he played a really big role in the new temple down there, director of operations
for the open house
and dedication of the new temple. So lots of really amazing things that he's done even in the last 10 years since we've been home, and I just look up to him so much, and so it's really cool. These two worlds crossing over, the work world and then my mission president being able to impact and teach you guys as he did to me back in the day. So two quick stories I just want to share, and then I'm going to pass it over to him. I was 6 months into my mission, and I was young and trying to become a better version of myself, and I was very raw and unpolished, and I still am in a lot of ways, but we sat down for an interview, and I asked him, how can I improve as a leader and as a person? And his answer to me has been kind of a theme in my life over the last 10 years. And it really, in a lot of ways, I believe that one thing or one piece of advice can kind of change anyone's life. And so hopefully tonight you hear something that can kind of become a theme for you. But he shared something with me that I've never forgotten. He said, Elder Vassaw, I love the way you're working hard, but one thing that jumps out at me is you kind of act like a dude. You call people man, you call people bro, and you're not yet committed in the way that you talk to people. And although at that time it was about language, I've taken it over the last 10 years and kind of turned it into all the other things and areas in my life. And I've found out that the more committed that you are to anything that you're doing in life, the more committed you can be and the less casual you can be, you will get better results. So what happened that day is I chose to become more committed. Our mission, as time went on and as he was our leader, became more committed. And the second story I want to tell, the first one kind of sets up that story. But I had 6 months of my mission left, and I was an assistant in the office, and I got to work with him really closely. And we had a goal that year to baptize. Initially, the goal was to baptize, I think, like 60-something people. And we were halfway through the year, and we were at like 50 people. So we were way ahead of pace for our initial goal. But as a good leader does, he inspired us to want to reset that goal for a higher mark. So he asked my companion and I, which was Brad Barber at the time, to pray about and consider a new goal for that year, for the last 6 months of my mission. And he said, but in that same phone call, he said, but I feel really good about the number 135, and I've been praying about that number, and I feel like that's the right number, but I want you to think on it and pray on it. And so anyway, we were like, well, you're our mission president, and that number feels good to us, so it feels good to you. But we're committed, we're willing to be committed and not casual in what we do for our rest of our time here. And fast forward the story to December 30th or 31st, however many days are in December. We baptized 134 and 135 on the number. And so we literally did 135 on the number. And it was such a cool, it was probably the first time in my life where I've just seen the power of a good leader setting a goal, what felt like an impossible goal, and then people choosing to be committed and not casual. And I love him for those types of lessons that I learned from him. And so again, I'm so excited that you guys get some time with him tonight to ask questions and just learn from a really high caliber human. So with that, I will turn it over to President Wilstead. Michael.
Well,
Yeah, I don't know. Ask Jackson about it.
thank you, Parker. Ryan, good to see you. Beth, good to see you. Matthew, former missionaries. That's kind of fun to be together. Parker, thank you very much. I had a recollection driving in here. The last company I ran, and this looks like I couldn't keep a job, so I'll tell you what that's all about. But the last company I ran was right across the street, just kitty corner from here. And 13 years ago, I'm sitting in that office and the phone rings and I don't recognize the number. And I pick it up and I say, hello. And this sweet lady says, is this Brother Wilstead? And I said, it is. And they said, well, this is Elder Christofferson of the Quorum of the 12. This is Elder Christofferson's assistant. And I immediately stood up. I don't know why I stood up, but I'm now standing in my office. And she says, Elder Christofferson would like to visit with you and your wife. And he'd like to get to know you better. And the first thought was, I see him every 6 months on TV. That's good for me. I don't need any more. But anyway, she goes through this whole thing. She tells me where to come, when to meet, and all that. And we say goodbye. And I call my wife, and she says, well, what day is it? I said the day. And she says, what time is it? I said, I don't remember. Well, where are we meeting? I don't remember. So now I got to call her back and say, don't tell her Christofferson this, but I don't remember what time or where I'm supposed to go. So there you go. That's me. I apologize. So I don't know how, Parker, I got to where I'm at, but that was my introduction to the mission field. It is a pleasure to be with you. And how much time are we taking here?
As much as you need, but Norman's probably 45 minutes, and then maybe some Q&A.
Okay, perfect. I don't want to be that guy that you all are saying, why is he done talking? This is kind of a summary of my career, if you would. My college education was a little broken up. I had an illness when I was my freshman year of college. It set me back a year, and then I went on a mission, and I came home, and I started selling insurance in college. I was an early door knocker, right? Selling life insurance, and that was to pay college tuition and to make sure I could pay my bills. Got married. My father had some challenges in his life that created a need for me to get back into a family business that he had. And so I had to drop out of college and spent a few years going to night school. But I started out in this door-to-door, if you will, referral selling role. And during that time, I knew that I wanted to get into a medical sales. And I started interviewing all the time with medical sales companies, and I couldn't get in because I didn't have a degree. That was the bottom line. Every time I get to the final interview, they'd say, well, if you had a degree, we'd love to hire you. And you were an insurance salesman, so that's a little a little tough for us. So I had a neighbor that was a pharmacist, and we decided to get in business for ourselves, and we started a medical equipment business. And I ran that for about 5 years, built it up, and then sold it. And finally now I graduated from university. I had a business under my belt. A public company called me and wanted me to be a sales rep. And so I started as a sales rep in an organization of about 1,000 reps. And within 5 years was actually president of that company. I became president. So it just was a fast-paced move through there just by doing the best I could every day. The rest of this, that business was sold to this company where I was group president, vice president there. I was recruited here as a president, chief operating officer. And then here, this is a nurse staffing company. This is a private equity group that reached out to me. They had $80 billion under management, which is a huge number in the private equity world. They had a business that was struggling. They reached out. It had about 8,000 employees. And I was called and asked to be the CEO of that business. So I ran that business for a couple of years, turned it around and sold it. And then was running this business right over there when the church called, and I left, and that business sold in my last year. So that's kind of the whole background. And I want to spend a lot of time on that. I want to talk more about what I learned through that process. Currently, I am, as Parker said, the operating partner of a private equity group, which means that because I have operation experience, I sit as chairman of the board on 3 different companies, and I mentor their CEOs. That's kind of what I do. So that's what I was up here doing today with some others. Kind of made some work with all this together to come here with you guys. So questions along the way, just let me know. Leadership, I want to talk about leadership. I want to talk about leadership in the way that not so much in a company, and I'll use business principles, but this is leadership in your life. Because I feel like it is repetitive in any phase of your life, whether you're going through school, whether you're in a marriage, whether you're in a relationship, whether you're in business, whatever it is, whether you're serving in the church, you need some basic core leadership skills. And I want to talk about that. And I want to get your thoughts on it. How many of you read Good to Great? It's a 2001 published book. What's your impressions, Parker?
Really good book.
Okay, that's a good summary. I had to give you a better summary.
I don't know if it's better, but it says the same thing over and over again. Could have said it in 3 chapters if you ask me, but basically taking good things and making them great, right?
So I agree with both of those. It's good and it is repetitive. But there's one chapter in there that I think is probably the best chapter, and that's a level 5 leader. Out of everything that Jim Collins taught, and this was a bunch of Harvard students that spent years and years and years evaluating the top companies in the United States and in the world that were successful over a sustainable period of time. So not a flash in the pan, but sustainable over a long period of time. And what were the principles that made those leaders great? And these were just some that I felt were really important that stood out to me. You don't need to write any of these down. If you want, Parker has this. You can give whoever you want to give it.
Yeah, I can post it.
If you want to take pictures, whatever you want to do. So I'm more interested in what you all think about this. But I love this thing. Leaders set up successors for even greater success, right? To me, that's the key of what leadership really is who you're setting up to be successful in the next phase of their development. If you're managing people, how do you put the people around you that are better than yourself, who will be successful, more successful than what you're doing? Display compelling modesty or self-effacing and understated. So how many of you read Patrick Lencioni's book on the ideal team player? You read that one? If you're in recruiting, you might want to read that one. It is the ideal team player, Patrick Lencioni, and he says that every person you build into your core, and I have a summary of it here a little bit later, has 3 principles. 1, they're humble. 2, they're hungry. And 3, they're smart. And people always think of smart as, well, high IQ. That's not what he's talking about. He's talking about people smarts. He's talking about being able to read people and understand people. And so I think that's a critical one. I like this workmanlike diligence, fanatically driven to produce results and attribute to their success and team responsibilities. I want to do something. I want to take and divide the room up. For the next few slides, want you to read the first 3 bullet points and you to read the bottom 3, all right? And I want you to tell me what stands out to you, and let's discuss these for a moment. This is, before you read them if you want while I talk, but this is a book called Winners Never Cheat by John Huntsman. Are you familiar with Huntsman Chemical? Anybody? Anybody related to Huntsman's in here? David Huntsman, John Huntsman's grandson, actually works at our firm. This is one of the most impactful studies that I've had. And I've had an opportunity to be with Mr. Huntsman on different occasions. And he has this incredible philosophy about what business ethics looks like and what personal ethics look like. And this is the core of this business. Let me give you one little example in Winners Never Cheat. Mr. Huntsman at one point in time took a company that he sold a division of to another competitor for $78 million. A $78 million transaction probably takes about 6 to 10 months to close. And during that time, the value of the currency, this is a foreign business, had gone up. The sales had gone up. And the CEO of the buying business calls John Huntsman and says, I don't feel good about this transaction anymore. I can't really pay you in good faith $78 million. I should pay you $98 million. It's pretty good on that guy's part, right? John Huntsman says we had a deal at 78. The deal at 78. My word to my bond. Okay. Did you read the top 3? Read the bottom. What do we got on the top? What stands out to anybody? Any impressions? Anything that stands out to you? You told me they could read.
Yeah. Well, that's why we're in order.
Go ahead first.
In leadership roles, set a good example.
Okay, tell me how that impacted you.
I've had the opportunity to have a few leadership roles in school and in like other activities, and it's always, if you don't set a good example, you'll fall behind. And I mean, we had a leadership meeting here where we said, you always lead from the front.
Yep.
You want to be leading from the front so you can guide those around you.
Perfect. Thank you.
Just compete aggressively.
Tell me, what does that mean to you?
I'm very driven by competition, so that's something that happens in sales a lot. We have incentives and things like that, and that just pushes me to be the best person. Obviously,
Always good by the rules. Right. Thank you. Ammon, and then back there.
Something that really came to mind when I saw the second bullet point. It says, but always play by the rules. It was something I read a couple of days ago in one of my business classes. It's from a book, rather than a book, but it says, never win an argument when you're selling. And it says, because if you lose an argument, you lose an argument. But if you win an argument, you lose an argument. Because you lose the person that you're trying to sell. And I think it applies to competing and achieving things that you want to. If you don't play by the rules and you win, you didn't really win.
You didn't win.
You know?
Great summary. Back there.
Yeah, I mean, basically the same thing those 2 guys said. I compare this to, working out, or if you're running, you're selling yourself short if you say in your head, hey, I don't have to do that extra set. I don't have to do that extra rep. I don't have to run those couple 100 meters that I'm just short of, And so, yeah, it translates really well to sales, but by playing by the rules and that moral compass is keeping you in check, that integrity is going to ground you. It's going to translate into other aspects of business.
Thank you.
I would say amongst all 3, the emphasis of morality. Mostly because my marketing professor is really drilling that into us right now. But basically, if you are moral in your dealings with people who you do business with, they will want to do dealings with you again. And also word of mouth advertising is something that is very valuable, and that's how you build it.
If you apply that principle every day in your life and every decision, right, you would never be in a position of compromise. You just wouldn't be there. Yes, please.
Also, just going off of what they said, if you are doing things the right way, that gives you confidence. So you're just going to grow even more in the future. And like, be confident in yourself and you'll know your abilities.
Great, thank you. I said the top 3. I want to make sure I don't miss these 2. Always keep your word, no matter what the consequences, right? and surround yourself with advisors who will say no when needed. You know, I am grateful for personal success that I've had in business and other areas, but I attribute that 100% to the people I surrounded myself with. Why did we end up with the goal of what we ended up with? One, revelation, but two, the tools were in place, meaning the missionaries were there with the vision that could accomplish the work. And I knew that, and I trusted in the Lord, and the Lord knew the missionaries. And the same has been true in every part of my business career. The CFO I had with me for 18 years, so Wharton grad, much smarter than I ever was, and he went with me with 3 different companies. Same vice president of marketing, 3 different companies. Same vice president of sales, 3 different companies. They were brilliant. We trusted each other, and we knew we could be successful together. Anything on this side? Let's sit down. All right.
The greatest compliment that you can get on the door is to ask if what you're selling is your business. So number 2, always operate your business as if your name is on the door.
Love it. Love it. If you own it and act like you own it, then you'll represent it well. Anyone else?
Just on top of that, our owners used to always say, treat this business like it's yours and someday it may be, or it will be, I guess.
Yeah.
And I believe that, like, you're not going to get promoted to be a partner if it's obvious that you're not creating real value, right? So there's ways in sales to create what looks like value, but maybe you're creating a customer that's kind of like you're setting the wrong expectations, or you know that you're increasing your chances of getting paid, but maybe long term there's some mismanagement of expectations with the customer. But I love this idea of in our industry, it's a very high turnover. Like, this isn't gonna be my job forever. So you do get people that treat it like it's, I'm gonna get mine and the company can figure it out. But it's just not a good way to go about things, even if it is going to be 1 year, because maybe in the future you'll rub shoulders with that person that you worked with here. They're not interested in working with you again if that's how you attack business. So
I think that's a great thought. I know other marketing firms like yours. I have a dear friend that the sons have a firm like this. It's a completely different culture. I did one of these not long ago for another marketing group, completely different culture. You're in the right spot to have this opportunity. Anyone else on this side? I want to point out this one. Give something back to the community. Return the favors. If you're not serving, whether that's your community, whether that's your church, doesn't matter what it is, you need to serve others to stay grounded throughout your life. I think that's really, really important. You're going to notice a theme here, and I apologize, but I don't apologize, because leaders that I've respected all my life have multiple skills. Mr. Huntsman built a company. He's also a general authority for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. His core values have been true throughout his life, and he's very generous in what he did. Look at that one. President Dallin H. Oaks wrote a book called Life Lessons Learned, and in it he has a leadership section. Again, 1 through 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on this side. One through 3. Please.
I think number 2, good leaders are not overly concerned with popularity, knowing that popularity follows good leadership, does not produce it. That kind of has to do with the previous slide too, with checking your moral compass and making a reputation for yourself, but being aggressive, meaning those who are aggressive but don't follow the rules, they don't stand out. Those who follow the rules but aren't very aggressive also don't really stand out. But if you're aggressive and follow the rules and have a moral compass, good things will happen to you, and you don't have to try it. If you're trying to go for popularity intentionally, I think there's a lot of pride and boasting in regard to that. But if you're just following the rules, have a good moral compass, and being aggressive, it's a natural byproduct of it.
Perfect. Thank you. What else? Back there first, and then.
I really like the first principle of love. I think love is it's exponential. All of my mentors and all the people that I trust, I feel their love and I feel that they care for me. And in that same way, when I feel it and I feel good about it, it makes me want to kind of filter to my team and the people who I'm around. And so I really think love, if when I figure that out and I can show it, I feel good, the other person feels good, everyone feels good. So I really like that. That's the first principle.
Thank you. I started my career at an age when managers pounded the table and yelled and screamed sometimes. And guess what? It never motivated me one time, not one time. But I would run through walls for people that I didn't carry, right? I would absolutely run through walls. Yes, Aaron.
Yeah, I recently finished reading The Anatomy of Peace, and one of the main points of that book is getting outside the box. And for me, like seeing love, that's a huge way that we don't see people as objects, we see people as people. And like Diggy was saying, when people notice that you're coming from a place of love, and seeing them for who they are and really caring about them, that amplifies to other people, and it's super powerful on teams. As a leader, if you're able to do that, it is exponential. And your customers see it out of the gate. Did you have a question or a comment here? Did you have a question?
No.
I really like, there's not one particular number that I like, but I like all three of them. It emphasizes love and leadership and how synonymous they are. And I think Parker can maybe attest to this, but it really changes when you know that a leader loves you. And I think he knows that with me, because I had the same thing with my mission president. And whenever he wanted me to do something, it became very personal for me, because I knew that he loved me. And what he wanted was what I wanted to do.
Well, thank you. Let me just touch on three for a second. Good leaders make decisions that can be relied upon because they stick with them. And one of the things you have is data, right? We live in a data world. We're in a data-rich world. And data can help you make good decisions. I mean, there's instinct, there's people around you, but data also helps you. The CEO of Four Seasons Hotels has a great line. He was in a management meeting one day and he made the comment, he said, if we have data, we'll use it, we'll analyze it, we'll make good decisions. But if it's only about opinions, then we'll just go with mine. Right? If you're the CEO of Four Seasons, I guess you can say that. If you just want to use an opinion, no, let's use mine. But if you have data, then I'm willing to listen to it. So, use the data around you. Okay, these others, bottom four, anyone? Someone from the back, go ahead first.
Yeah, I think number 6 stands out to me. It's like during your time as a leader, like it's not always easy and it can become stressful and your team can be under stress. But if you handle it correctly, the people who lead can handle it. And so yeah, you just lead from the front and be strong and stay hard.
Great, thank you. Appreciate it. Please.
I'd say number 7 kind of stood out to me, and it's something that I've been thinking about a lot with my team. But no single principle of leadership is more powerful than a leader setting the right example. It reminds me of a phrase like "wash my feet, not my mouth." Doing the work is going to set a bigger example to the people who are underneath you than telling people that you did the work. And that's one thing that
Great point. You can say all you want to say, right? But let me show me first. Someone back here have a comment? Oh, we're moving on. Anyone else? Anything else on this one?
I kind of cheated in the number 4, but I love this. Good leaders are positive and optimism is infectious. Something we talk about a lot in my company is that sales is a transfer of energy. And like if you show up at somebody's house and like they can tell that you're a rain cloud, they're not going to buy from you. If you are a leader and you're pounding the desk like you talked about, like people are not motivated by that. Having positivity in your life is something that energizes everyone around you. It's one of the, I think it's one of the best things about an organization is that like, if you have the right people together and you're all positive, you can do things a lot better than you can individually. And sales is a transfer of energy.
It's interesting. Matthew and his wife and his 2 beautiful girls just spent the weekend in our house. At least a night and a day, and horses and all kinds of things. And when he left, Denise and I both said, doesn't he just make you feel better?
I'll
Doesn't
get
he
it
just make you want to be
Right.
better?
I think we're going to
So
go.
you're the right one to have a comment. Thank you. Anyone else who else said something? Okay, in 1977, President President Kimball was asked to go speak to the Young Presidents Association. This was CEOs of companies that the CEO was 40 years old and younger. And they asked him to speak on leadership. Now, it's a wonderful talk. You can go out and read the whole thing. You can find it, 1977. And it's called Jesus, the Perfect Leader. And so look at these principles that President Kimball taught. Okay, top three. Bottom two, looks like. Top three, bottom two. Okay, go. Who's got one? Top three, go ahead.
I read this on my mission, and I think something super powerful is like how you center your life around Jesus Christ and how that's going to affect you. And through his example, like ultimately we're going to become better people. And so I think that we already knew like all of these things. It was just laying out. He basically just laid it out in front of us. I think his ultimate message and like the bottom three or whatever, the whole talk is going to be, you know, center your life around Jesus Christ. And that's ultimately what's going to make you successful. And so, I mean, it's a great talk.
Pretty amazing that you would take a business leadership opportunity like that and turn to this, right?
Yeah.
Because the core principles are, remember what I started with? Whatever we're talking about tonight, if it applies to leadership, it should be transferable to every aspect of your life. And you just nailed it. That's what President Kimball was saying, the same thing. Other ones, other comments, anybody, please.
I like the second to last one, that says his leadership is selfless. I think a good leader is willing to serve those, think of others first, I guess.
And I think as you build your teams, right, and as they know that you want to serve them and be part of their organization and help them be successful, then it'll play over into your personal success as well. Well, go back first, and then
the second one, I like the end of it. He's not afraid of proximity to him to disappoint his followers. I think a lot of leaders think they have to kind of hide who they really are from the people they lead. And that's just weakness. If there's something you're hiding from people, you probably shouldn't be doing it as a leader. And so I think that's really cool. I think that's something that we don't think about a lot, but like being your true self and being vulnerable to people you need can be powerful.
you know, I remember one time a leader asked me, "So you travel often. What do you do with the private times of your life? What do you do in a hotel when you're all by yourself? What is it?" And it's like you said, if that was exposed to the world, would I be proud of that? You know, and so the Savior he was proud of that at all times. So, yeah, when you have a comment.
I really like the first one. It says Jesus knew who he was and why he was here on this planet. Scriptures, there's a proverb that says, where there's no vision, the people perish. And Jesus knew exactly who he was and why he was here. And he had that vision, and that allowed him to operate in a place of strength as opposed to uncertainty when he led people. And people could trust him.
When you're true to your core, right? You know who you are, you know who your people are around you, then you can help people succeed at higher levels.
I really like the third and fifth one. And I think that they're very connected. If you want to love your followers as a leader, you have to know them. And you have to understand them. And I feel like that's a very key aspect of being a leader, knowing and understanding.
Yes.
I really like number 3, a listening leader, because I believe that coachability is one of the most important aspects of life. If you're not willing to take criticism from those around you, either ahead of you or behind you, in that aspect, you'll never improve. You'll stay stuck in the mud, when you could just climb right up to some grass right next to it.
Positive, constructive encouragement. Be meaningful, kind of, and he was never afraid to offer that. One more slide. I love this talk so much that I gave 2 slides to it. How's that? Okay, top 3, bottom 2. Who wants to start? Please.
I think the first one where it's saying Jesus was not afraid to make demands of those he led. I think with leadership, it can be a little frightening to make demands of those you lead, because those are people who are looking up to you. And if with your demands it becomes a little too much or not enough, people are going to notice that, and they're going to see that as a leader, you're either trying to ask people to do a lot more than they can handle, or you're not pushing them hard enough. And so I think it's a really big way to define a good leader or not.
I think that people rise to the expectation you set for them, right? And they do it in your home. Your children will do it in your home. Missionaries will do it in the mission field. You'll do it in business. You'll do it in your neighborhood. People will rise to the level that you expect them to rise to. They'll also sink to the level that you believe or don't believe in. And so this is critical that you understand this great principle of always lifting, of always building, of always expecting more.
I love number 4, helping people understand that they have within them immense possibilities. There's a prevailing notion that people are limited in their capacities to do things. And I think that good leaders teach the opposite of that, that they are limitless. Their potential is so great, and pushing and gently prodding the people that over whom you have stewardship is such a good leader, pushing them in a positive direction. They're like, oh, you can do more, and there's more within you. Without making them, not overburdening them. Obviously, there's nuance to that, but not teaching people that they are who they are and there's no growth up from there. But there's always something else. Immense possibilities. I love that.
And with that is also this piece, right? I mean, there's accountability in his expectations, and there should be accountability in our expectations, and all those that we surround ourselves with. Any other comments on this? Parker.
I think this is less about like one specific one, and just more just like a thought that comes to my mind in both these pages. Just I think there's a lot of people even in this room that would say, or are tempted to say, I'm not a leader in a lot of things in my life, and I think that I believe that God built us to be leaders, and all of these things are so beautiful. And I think that in striving to become the best leader possible, we just inevitably become the best version of ourselves. And so take on leadership. Like, we're not built to be on the sideline of the game. We're built and created to be in the game and participating and playing in the game. And so I think that if you don't feel like you're a leader in certain parts of your life, then check yourself into the game.
Yeah, put yourself in.
Yeah,
that's right. Great point. So I've taken what I've done throughout my life is I've taken things like this that have influenced me and other leaders that influenced me, and I've written my own personal leadership guide. But then I've also written a leadership guide for companies that I've ran. And for example, here's the last one that I ran. And it's a company that was over here. We bought this business. It's a remarkable story. We paid a single mother to start a business. We paid her $55 million for a business. Isn't that a cool story? Single mother, build a business from scratch. We paid her $55 million for it. She was doing online education for medical professional jobs. 3 years later, when I left on a mission, she had about 5,000 students. We had over 40,000 students. We had 26 different programs, and the business just exploded. And so the shareholders got a nice return on that $55 million. But more importantly, I put this on every desk and taught these same principles or something similar and said, look, we have first and foremost unyielding integrity. See if you can see a pattern through the things that we've learned from other leaders. We're going to hire and train the best people and raise the bar. We're going to set high expectations. We're going to demonstrate enormous energy and energize others. I had this vision in my mind that if lights are going to be turned on, I'm going to turn them on. If they're going to be turned off, I'm going to turn them off. I know I'm not the smartest guy in the room, but I can work alongside you, or I can work harder. And so I'm going to make sure that those around me know that I'm willing to do what you're willing to do. And that way we can all be successful. We're going to set aggressive goals, and we're going to reward progress. You guys have aggressive goals and know you're compensated well for what you do. And that's a great thing. There's nothing wrong with that. Just use it for good, right? Just use it for good and continue to enhance yourself. We're going to understand, accept accountability and commitment. We're going to see change as an opportunity, not a threat. You know, your compensation plan changes, your territory changes, your housing changes. You know what? Where's the positive attitude? Find it and make it work for you. Don't let it work against you. I mean, that's the key. Find it, make it work for you. Don't let it work against you. Be a role model and professional at all times, and then quality customer service is the key to building a growth-oriented company. I don't think there's a more important principle in our life than having our core centered where it should be centered. And that's on these types of principles. Like I said, in my family, in my faith, in my business, I would encourage you to write out your own leadership guide. Who is it you want to be? How do you want to become it? And set those principles. Questions, thoughts, anything on this? Please.
I think the third point really stands out to me. Last year I read Sell or Be Sold by Grant Cardone, and one of his rules is always be the most energetic and positive person in the room, and people will gravitate towards you. And like I've used that because even when people are disappointed or discouraged, like if you can be that light, kind of similar to your previous slides, like people will always naturally gravitate towards that person and have a form of hope in what you believe in.
Thank you. Great point. Anyone else? Please.
Yeah, how do you get people to like buy into this? Like if this is like, say, your vision, your identity, and you're running this business, are you hiring? Are you looking for people specifically? Or besides like just putting a paper on their desk, right? I mean, they could read it and then, you know, on with their life. So what kind of differentiates that? Like, how do you apply that?
You know, good leadership is shown, not taught. First of all, you know, we kind of reviewed that. And so I think it's by example and it's by individual relationships. When I went to the company that had the 8,000 employees, we had 63 offices and they were all little individual P&Ls. They're all grading revenue, right? And there was a cultural shift that needed to happen. I said to the CFO who had been with me before, I said, you know, this company is generating almost $1 billion a year in revenue and losing 25 million. You find out why we're losing money, I'm going to go fix the revenue side. And I hit 63 offices in 90 days. And I put on headsets and I recruited with people, recruiting nurses, and I did jobs and I built relationships and we had lunch and I shared my values and my core and they just saw it firsthand. I don't know what Ryan's out, but you two, the mission field, did we knock doors together?
I had a day when we were in Bulgaria, they speak Bulgarian, which is not a very common language. And President Wilstead was out there on the streets with me, and we stopped someone and started talking with them about living profits. And President Wilstead was doing his best to follow along with the conversation. And I turned to him and in Bulgarian said, "Can you share with him your testimony of living profits?" And he looked at me like, Brother Maddox, what the crap are you doing? But then he said, you know, I believe that they're living prophets on the earth today. And I laugh at that experience, but President Wilstead really did this. Like he was willing to work alongside us, and he wasn't just sitting in the office. He was on the streets with us. And even though Bulgarian is a hard language to learn, like
I had three,
President
give me a
Wilstead.
break. Bulgarian, Turkish, and Farsi.
Yes, there were several languages in our mission, but and like I saw that in the interactions with the people as well, is that they cared to speak in Bulgarian, and because they did that, people loved President Sister Wilstead.
Have you heard the saying that people, how's it go? They don't care about how much you know. They want to know how much you care. So I think when you show them that you care first, and that you're going to be with them, then you get buy-in. That's the only way. You know who else? What have you done? Others? How do you get buy-in? Parker, how are you getting buy-in?
Well, I was going to share a little funny story. I remember being on an airplane one time to Turkey, and I listened, and behind me they had an iPad out, and if you were doing like Duolingo or something, it was like chair, wall, like in Bulgarian, like there's a bunch of Bulgarians around us. I'm like, yeah, little guy's trying to learn. I just give him a break, but I honestly I love this show, not tell. Do as I watch my feet, not my lips is something I've been hammering really hard. I love this idea of Christ. The more people hung out with him, spent time with him, the more inspired they were.
They were more motivated.
They were more motivated, not less. And there's actually not a lot of leaders that we can say that about. And I'm not I want to be that. I aspire to be that. We're trying to create a culture of that, where there's a lot of do as I say, not as I do. And I just think that people are so much more inspired by what am I doing, not what am I saying. But when you're doing things and people see that you're getting results doing things, then when you turn around and you say things, they hold weight. And you put yourself in a position then to be qualified to stand up in front of a group and say, it's almost like your followers are begging for it. Like, how are you doing this stuff, right? So I do think it starts so much with watch as I do, and go get results in your life and create fruits in your life that just begs questions. And then you have your principles that you need to be intentional about that you then pass on.
It's hard for me to mentor a CEO if I haven't been one, right? And so if I can walk it, then I can share it. I got to share one funny missionary story because of the whole language thing. I would drive through these countries and I would try to read road signs, right? And these three know, and we'll serve in Bulgaria. And the road signs in Bulgaria can be dangerous if you're really looking at them, right? There's not always the most appropriate things that are pictured with the resort. So I'm cruising down the road and I say to this missionary and assistant at the time, I said, hey, did that road sign say blah, blah, blah resort? He looked at me and goes, is this a test? Are you asking me if I've looked at the sign? I didn't see the picture. I was reading the sign. Look at the picture. Anything else? Any other questions, comments? Anything you'd be helpful with, please?
Also, I love the see changes and opportunities not left to right. Just to speak on that, there's so many times where when we do things as a company, we're like, my first year we moved from Maryland to Virginia, and I was like, whoa, this is so cool. We get to go to new places, and our managers and our bosses love us so much that we get to go see new things and have all these different opportunities. And so that first year I learned how to sell a lot of different types of people because we were able to have so many changes within the company that allowed us to grow a lot more.
Perfect. Thank you. I'm going to give you 3 bullet points. And then what you tolerate, you endorse. So think of your sales organizations, right? So what you tolerate as a manager or in your personal life, you endorse. If you're hiring, hire the right people I referenced this book already. Humility, Hunger, and People Smarts. I was a vice president of sales. We had about 1,000 salespeople at a sales meeting. 2 days before the sales meeting, our CEO was replaced, public company. Our stock was at $35. Press release went out that this guy was coming to be our CEO. Our stock price went to $70 in 2 days. So it doubled in 2 days. That's what kind of big hitter he was, right? So now here's 1,000 salespeople at the sales meeting, and he's going to speak, and everybody can't wait to hear what he has to say. And he says, I'm going to give you the secret to selling success. You'll never have to learn another thing. And he says this: people buy more from people they like and less from people they don't. Right? Everybody was sitting there with pen and paper waiting for something profound. You know what? It's very profound. It's profound. How you approach people gains their confidence in you and their trust, and allows them to make a decision. They're gonna spend money. They're gonna have to spend their hard-earned money based on what you present to them and how you represent yourself to make a huge difference. Thank you for giving me this time tonight. Appreciate it. It's good to be with you all. Thank you.
Thanks for coming. There might be a little extra pizza. You guys are welcome to hang out and get to know each other. So thank you for coming tonight.